There we go. Now we've got a recording going. So you guys will probably get that little alert on the screen that says, we are recording. Do you wish to stay? And go ahead and make your decision. I hope you choose to stay because it's going to be a fun one. We've got Yvonne Hanning with us today. And I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here so that you all can view the few slides that I've got together. Thank you again for joining us. We know there's a lot going on this week. Yvonne and I were just chatting about that. There's CSU graduation, people are making travel plans. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. Okay, can someone give me a thumbs up? Let me know that you're able to see my screen. All right, thank you so much. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We are here today for our Lunch and Learn. It is May 19th, 2022. Thanks again for coming, everybody. And today we are talking about active agers Zooming for fitness. We have the wonderful, exuberant Yvonne Hanning of Willow Tree Studios with us today. And I'm so excited. So today, active aging. I love this photo because it is somebody who is an active ager and she's having fun doing it. And that is something that Yvonne specializes in, is making activities like this really fun. So I'm really excited that we get to have her share all of her great knowledge with us today. All right, how is PAFC trying to help with these lunch and learns that we are holding? We're trying to connect everybody in the community to the resources that Larimer County offers you. We know that Larimer County is a wonderful place to grow older in, and we know that there are so many resources that sometimes people aren't aware of. So we're trying to connect you with as many resources as possible here at PAFC, and Willow Tree Studios is another one of those wonderful resources that we want to make sure you are connected to. We are incubating programs where we see that there are problems that need to be solved that do not already have a program or a resource in place. And then we are working to create more opportunities such as this one, where we can share all of this great information with community members in a way where you can have your questions answered. We could not do this without Bank of Colorado, PAFC's mission sponsor. Thank you so much to Bank of Colorado. We are so appreciative to have them as our mission sponsor. And now I bring you our wonderful guest today, Yvonne Hanning, the founder of Willow Tree Studios. Yvonne, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and hand it off to you so that we can all see you.
Alrighty, good morning and welcome to Willow Tree Studios. As Carrie said, I'm Yvonne. I'm delighted to be here to talk to you today about Willow Tree Studios, my journey in starting an online business, and how we address the health and wellness needs of active agers. I'm all about fitness, health, nutrition, movement, so I have incorporated some movement into our lunch and learn today, which we're going to start out with. So sitting up nice and tall in your chairs, your toes pointed straight ahead, your shoulders down and relaxed. And let's start, as we do each class, with 2 deep breaths. Inhale up and exhale down. One more. Inhale up. Exhale down. You can just rest your hands on your lap. We're going to look over our shoulder to the right and back to center, and over our shoulder to the left and center. This time as we look to the right, we're even going to use our eyeballs to look behind even further and sweeping nice and smooth motion over to the left, even using your eyes to look behind. One more on each side. Nice movement for our neck, gives it a good stretch, releasing some tension, and back to center. Ear to shoulder, a new perspective, right? Back to center, ear to shoulder, and back to center. We're going to shrug our shoulders up tight by our ears and then reaching down with our fingers like we have weighted gloves, pressing our shoulders down to the ground, shrugging up and reaching down, and then a shrug up, and this time a big sigh, just relaxing your shoulders down. One last thing, hands to the outside of your leg, your body's nice and tall, and then a seated twist, looking over your shoulder far as you can, and back to center. And then over to the other side, same thing, sitting tall and looking over your shoulder. And let's add in a reach up to the ceiling, our fingers brushing the ceiling, and then down and to the side, looking behind. One last reach up to the ceiling and look behind. And a little shake out. I'm going to stand back up. You can stay seated. Time to jump in. How we got started. Even before the pandemic, we had fitness online was beginning to really take off. We had our Fitbits, we had our phone apps. There's a ever daily number of growing online apps, and even programs like Weight Watchers have now a whole fitness program built into their online apps. Prior to the pandemic, I had been working at the senior center for 7 years, and my industry training over the last decade has been focused on the chronologically enriched. I had the opportunity to work with training trainers for both Tai Chi and In Balance, and those we did parts of both of those trainings online and in Zoom. So coming into the pandemic, I had already had some experiences with both active agers and Zoom. Then March of 2020 came, and we had been out of the gym for a couple of weeks, and I was starting to get like a little text or a phone call or a note on email that was like, hey, like, I don't know how long it's going to be till we get back, but I feel like I need to move. Can you put a video up or two? So I said, sure. And I put up a couple of videos, and it probably, I don't know, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks passed, and somebody suggested, why don't we do a Zoom? And I'm like, awesome. So I sent out an email, sent the link. We offered our first real-time class in Zoom, and that was the launch of Willow Tree Studios. There was an adjustment period where people were learning how to get logged on, how they could hear the classes, how they could see us, the instructors. And so there was that time period. For us, it was how we could get our sound worked out and different things like that. And also, because I teach fitness, is how you can get your cameras to capture movement, because a lot of the cameras, if you could get one, they were made for meetings like this, not movement. But everybody pulled together, they worked through, they helped each other out, and we were on our way. And I'm really proud of our community for doing that as well. Then, as we go forward, I do feel like online fitness is going to continue to be strong and growing. So people have found out if they live in rural communities, they have now access to all kinds of classes that they would ordinarily not be able to have access to. And even people that live in densely populated areas, now they don't have to fight through the traffic, through the rain, the snow, the sleet, the hail, and find a parking place and run into the building. Whew. And the other thing is there's now such a wide variety of classes that you have a lot of ways to pick and choose what kind of class you'd like to attend, what addresses your needs. So I do think that there will be also opportunities for in-person. I don't think that's going away either. I think it's just going to be this new mix of what works well for everybody. So that's how it's going. What I have learned, I've learned that an important part of starting any new venture is your support system and your resources. And I'm lucky to have an awesome support system, awesome resources. So firstly, my fitness community, they suggested to do the Zoom classes. They learned how to do Zoom to take the classes. They show up to classes and continue to offer support and encouragement to me and Christy, my co-teacher, with notes and just talking to us before class and a lot of things like that. So kudos to my support system there. And speaking of Christy, my co-teacher, it turned out she moved to California in February of 2020. Now she teaches classes from there. She wasn't anticipating being there as long as that, but she has been. And she has taken over the cardio portions and the silver sneakers parts of the studio, which really helps me. And also, if any of you know me, she does such a great job of that because she has the rhythm that I don't. I have to shout out some appreciation to my kids. They've helped me with everything from business formation, set design, social media, tech help. My extended family, who has listened to this talk now 3 times. My friends, people in my fitness community, in the fitness industry, the Partnership for Age-Friendly Communities, and being a part of the Gateways catalog. So I say, we get by with a little help from my friends. And people might say that's cheesy, but you know what? That is just how I am. So we're going to move on to what do we need as active agers. Well, you've heard the saying, motion is lotion. So we're going to take another quick movement break. Still sitting up nice and tall. We're going to bring our hands to our shoulders, giving ourselves a lovely shoulder massage. And then drawing our elbows in towards each other, dropping our chin. Squeezing our shoulder blades together, gently lifting your chin, rounding out, squeezing our shoulder blades together, and one last rounding out, and squeezing our shoulder blades together, our head gently lifted, and then relax. One hand reaches up to the ceiling, and back to center. Reaching up, you get that nice, opening up some nice space between your ribs, a stretch from your hips all the way to your fingertips. One more on each side. Keeping our hands on our shoulders, rolling our elbows forward. Now we've got our coordination going too, and rolling our elbows back. And a little shake out. Continuing on, feeling good in your body is the big benefit of physical activity. People come to Willow Tree Studios and they have tons of reasons for logging on. Sometimes it's they're getting ready to go traveling and they want to be ready for their trip. Maybe they're going to be spending time with their grandkids and they want to be able to participate in a lot of activities with them. Sometimes it is they're going on a hike, cycling, a million different reasons. Sometimes it's just to improve balance, strength, and stamina. So our classes are based on integrating the components of physical function into each class. So I want to share this chart here. Okay, so this is our physical function chart, and this is how we plan our classes at Willow Tree Studio. We look at muscular strength, and we incorporate not just like lifting weights, but things that improve our power, our speed, endurance. We have our cardio, balance, mobility, and each of these areas have these sub areas, and we focus on those. But in each class, you'll get a little bit of each of these areas. And I'm going to stop share, but I have to, oh, there it is. Okay, I lost it on my page. So we're going to look at one area today, which is balance training, which is a part of all our classes, and look how it goes through those areas of physical function, how we might use those. So starting out with statistics, why not? 1 in 4 adults 65 and older fall each year. And many times when someone falls, they don't get hurt, or not very much, like a skin knee or something, but it puts some fear and scariness about that. And they think, okay, I can't do that thing anymore. And then there's a reduction after reduction of activities. And when that happens, we're already pretty sedentary as a society. That even makes us more sedentary and actually increases our risk for a fall. But there's lots of things we can do about that. So I'm going to give you 6 tips for preventing falls, and then we'll move into more of balance. So, number 1, vision. It is one of the most common reasons for a fall. One thing is we lose our depth perception and contrast sensitivity. So contrast sensitivity is like this. Say you're going down a set of stairs and they're carpeted, and the carpet now has a pattern. So now it's really hard to get that depth perception. It just makes it feel uncomfortable to be going down those steps. You might have you also have to remember to be keeping an eye out for things like glaucoma, cataracts, regular prescriptions. So we have to stay attuned to our eye health. Hearing is something that's coming up more and more about even mild hearing loss can contribute to falls risk. So just like when you're going to practice a balance pose, somebody will say to you often, one of the tips is find something to focus on that's not moving. Our auditory process works very similar to that. We have auditory anchor points. So this really came to me in a way that is unusual. I went to get my hearing tested, and the first thing they did was put this little tube, and it points sound at all the different areas of your eardrum. And so you could really feel the shape of your eardrum, and then you kind of noticed how, oh, we really do use our hearing so much for balance. Even if you go to have your hearing checked and it's all fine, great. At least you have a baseline so you know moving forward. Let's see, that's 2 tips. We're on tip number 3, medications. If you are taking 3 or more any medications, 3 or more medications, that can increase your falls risk. Medications that we take that are prescribed, that are more problematic for balance, are medications that affect your brain, your blood pressure, or your blood sugar. It's important. This is my biggest of these 6 tips. This is the one I like the best. I feel like it has the most impact, which is to have your medications reviewed by your pharmacist or by your doctor at least once a year, because things change. If you're having problems with your balance, sometimes they can lower the amount of medication you take. Sometimes they have an option to change it. Sometimes it can be discontinued altogether. So what I'm saying is have that checked and work with your medical professionals to do that. Next, home safety features. So that would be like lights in your bedroom, the little night lights, and they have some that aren't on all the time that when you walk by, they'll turn on for you. Throw rugs, grab bars, things like that you've heard again and again. But for me, it's really important because I take time every night. This is something I should probably teach my dogs to do, but right now I'm doing it, which is to pick up all their toys and put them in the basket in case I have to, in case I have to get up in the night and, to help one of them out. I won't be like, it's like Legos, but with dog bones, right? Chronic conditions, if you have Parkinson's, that can affect your gait, or even if you have arthritis, if you're having pain in a particular day, that is also going to affect your gait and may increase your falls risk. And finally, alcohol. We're less able as we get older to metabolize alcohol, and sometimes it doesn't mix well with our medications. So those are my 6 tips for preventing falls. And now let's look at how we integrate balance training into our classes, starting with strength. We practice I'm going to step back a little bit just so you can see, starting with static balance or just balance in one place. When we bring our foot up off the ground, we're strengthening our hip, our knee, our ankle, and our foot. They all work together to send information to our brain to keep us upright. And also, when we're standing on one leg, we practice our dynamic balance because part of our walking pattern, right, is that leg, your arms are all moving together. Or maybe you're going to put a box way up on the shelf, reaching down to pick up the paper. Even more, having the strength in your legs to catch ourselves and the speed to get that foot out there in time to catch ourselves. And even if you can't stop a fall, because sometimes you can't, it's an accident, right? You can at least, if you have nice strength in your body, you can catch yourself and reduce the impact of that. And we also want to strengthen the muscles that give us good posture. So, a few more, another movement break. Sitting up nice and tall. We're going to keep our spines long, hinging at the hip, reaching our hands forward and then drawing our elbows right towards the back of the room, squeezing our shoulder blades together. So this helps to strengthen the muscles in our upper back and help us keeping our good posture muscles strong. And then a little shake out. Now, for this next one, you have the opportunity to stand up and stretch your legs if you choose to. But I'd like you to stand by your chair. So we're going to start out, first of all, with our feet about hip width apart, our toes pointed straight ahead, our shoulders down and relaxed, and finding a focal point. And then we're just going to lift our one leg off the ground. Now, I don't want you to have your legs together. I want them apart. And then if you lose your balance, just tap your toes down or grab your chair. Let's switch to the other leg. Same thing. So you might feel your foot moving a little bit or a little bit of movement in your ankle or your hip. That's good. That just shows that your body is working to provide feedback to your brain. A little shake out. We're going to come back balancing on our left leg, and this time we're going to practice some dynamic balance. So we're going to bring our hand across to our hip and then open out. Now, if you feel like that's pretty easy with your head staying forward And you're like, no problem. What I want you to do this time is to watch your hand travel over to the side and turn your head to go with it. So a tap, looking down, looking up, and that will really challenge your balance a lot more. We're going to come to the other side of our chair to practice that on the other side. So anchoring into your right leg this time, starting standing tall, hand to your hip. You can either keep your head and eyes forward, or you can track your hand with your head and your eyes, and that adds in a pretty significant balance challenge and a little shake out. You could go ahead and have a seat. So these are just a few exercises showing how strength helps to improve our balance. We have a neuromuscular, which is communication between the brain and the muscles, and mobility. So we're going to do, we might use a drill like we do this, front, side, front, together, front, side, front, together. Or we might do something like stepping in all directions and a push off from the leg. And so that is, we might also do something like fast taps, right? So those are some different things to engage both our mobility and our neuromuscular. But we're going to do a tricky one here to get the communication going between our brains and our muscles. So when we start out, I'm going to scoot my chair back just a little bit here so you can see all the way. We're going to start out with just some heel taps right to the front. So we're sitting tall. Last one, heel taps to the corner. So easy enough, right? We're going to add in, we'll stop right here. We're going to add a clap on heel tap. We're going to do 8 heel taps to the front, 8 heel taps to the corner. We're going to add claps on 1, 5, and 7. So here we go. We should get this first one, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 1, 6, 7. Did I get that wrong? 8. One last time. All right, we're going to do it. Here we go. 1. Done. Whew. Okay. Now our brains and muscles are activated, or else now we really need some that after lunch coffee. So one thing that I've heard again and again is that I was carrying some food. I was in a hurry. I was carrying laundry, going down the steps. I was chatting with my friend, and I tripped. So cardio is a fun activity that can help with that. We can do things without thinking about it that we might not ordinarily do in the rest of our day. So one fitnessy drill for falls prevention is walking backwards, reaching back with your toes, dropping your heels, and this is very effective, but most people don't really have like maybe a safe place to practice that, or you don't really want to be walking down the street backwards because your neighbors will be making calls. So you'll end up on next door, I'm just saying. So anyway, so if we take a simple movement, I'm going to have you stand up one more time. This is the last time, and this will be fun. So we'll start out, simple movement. We're going to bring ourselves with a step to the right, out, out, in. Nice and easy, right? Out, out, in. One more, out, in. We're going to take that same out, in motion, and we're going to take it forward. So it's out, in, out, in. We might add some arms. Out, in. Now let's take that same movement and take it backwards. We'll start with no arms. Out, back to center. Out, back to center. Now we add in our arms. Out, in, out, in. Now we're going to imagine that we've made this X here. We're in the center of the X. We have our 2 points forward, 2 points back. We're going to move both forward and back, starting on the right. Here we go. Out, in, out, in. One to the front, one to the back. Boom, boom. And then you have to just sing yourself a little song because I didn't plan music for this. One last. Out, in, out, in. There you go. You can have a seat again. So we take that simple movement, we add pattern to it, and it helps to improve our balance. When we look at things from the cognitive and emotional as it relates to balance, something like cardio, Tai Chi, or yoga, when we're learning those new movement patterns, it helps to create better focus for us. If we're looking at, again, the Tai Chi, the yoga, things that have the calming breaths, this helps to quiet your mind. You feel more relaxed, less distracted, and those breaths really help with pain management. We have the slow movements of Tai Chi with the easy stepping out, or we have where if you're in taking yoga class and you're doing Warrior One, you have that reduced base of support. And so those are other ways that you can address balance. And then finally, learning those new movement patterns can help you feel good about keeping your mind sharp and challenging your brain. So there we go. And we are going to move to flexibility now, which is an important part in this whole picture. Stretching also can, I lost my mind here. Oh, yes. Stretching can also help to improve your posture, reduce pain, help you to relax. And I just saw a few, I think last week there was one that it also helps to reduce your blood pressure. So just like you're stretching out your muscles, you're stretching out, you're making sure that you stay flexible all through your body. We're going to do a little flexibility here, sitting up nice and tall, extending one leg forward, heel down, toes flex towards your shin. We're going to reach our left hand up. Hinging at the hip, we're going to reach for the seam right between the wall, where the wall and the ceiling meet, and you can feel that stretch all along the back of your leg. And then sitting tall, flattening that foot out, slide it in. We're going to make an outline of the outside edges of our foot, like we dipped our foot in paint, and we just want to make at the outside edge of our footprint, reversing direction, and relax. All right, left leg out, toes flex towards your shin, right hand reaches up, finding that seam between the wall and the ceiling. And then sitting up tall, flattening your foot out the best you can. and then making an outline of the very outside edges of your foot and reversing direction. And then relaxing down. A little shake out. So before we wrap up here, I want to give you my best tip for your overall health and wellness. This will help you feel stronger, move with more ease. You'll have less stress, improved focus, better posture. We'll have a drum roll before I roll that out, right? So my best tip for optimal health and wellness is this. In addition to your regular activities, whether you're having a cardio class, yoga, walking, think of those as your main course, right, for the day. You want to have that breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. But in between, it's those movement snacks. Our bodies were made for movement. They were not made for sitting. So if you can do something like giving a little stretch or doing a little, getting your heart rate elevated just for a few minutes, between meetings or something like that. These, even just like those head turns and squeezing your shoulders, it reduces a lot of tension in your back. So there's all kinds of just 1 minute, 2 minute little breaks you can add to your day that will really, even in the time of a week, you'll see a big improvement in how you feel. We offer movement breaks every day. We have them on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, you can get them off the website. And I'm going to show you how to navigate that. So when you come to the website, there's a pop-up, and this gives you the news note. We have health tips, wellness tips, recipes, what's going on at Willow Tree, and news articles, all kinds of different things. This is free. You don't have to be a member to join that and get those weekly news notes. We have the nice thing here about Willow Tree is you can find out more about it. We have a little, here's me and Christy, little notes about us. We have membership and different ways about that. This is, we have our class schedule. So it tells what time the classes are. If you're part of Silver Sneakers, you can log on to there and get that. And then here is our video posting schedule. So this says what we are going to, what is going to be each day. And then this big giant red button takes you right to the playlist. I'm going to stop that before it. And so here, these are all our balance ones. We have some quick cardio breaks. You can see there, between here, this is like 4 and 10 minutes, so you can even pick the kind of length that you want for those. And we also have class descriptions so that you kind of have an idea of what you're getting into, because we have classes from very calm, low impact like Tai Chi and yoga, and we have some classes that are go, go, go like functional fitness where we're, hopping up and doing things like that. And then we have kind of middle classes where we might do some seated, some standing, but working on those strength and balance issues. So that is the end of my talk. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
This is so much great information. Thank you. You said something at the very beginning that was surprising to me, but it made sense the more I started thinking about it. You were talking about how when we have a stumble, even if it doesn't result in an injury, it does lead us to maybe become more sedentary when we are already pretty sedentary as a society. And then if we become more sedentary, that actually increases our susceptibility for falls. It sounds so counterintuitive at first, thinking, oh, wait a minute, if I'm sitting more, if I'm not up and about, I must be protecting myself, right? I'm not going to fall as often because how would I have the opportunity to? But that's not the case, because then, as you have shared with us, we're not working those muscles and we're not creating those mind-body connections that will help us be more balanced when we're moving around, and that will actually prevent us from tripping. So that was just really interesting to me. Sitting more does not mean we are protecting ourselves from falls.
It's true. And really, I think a lot of people don't tell anybody when they fall, but sometimes, I mean, even if you don't think you're hurt, it's important to get checked out to make sure everything is okay. And also because sometimes then you can be like, oh, you sprained this muscle, you can get some PT for that, and part of the PT is going to be strengthening, overall strengthening. So that is very important.
Yeah, I'll share. I missed a step from one of my friends' homes and landed, flat on my face. And that was like a couple of years ago. And even to this day, I'm actually really scared of steps. I
Yeah.
still do them, but man, I think I'm overly careful, which probably will cause a fall just because I'm, really stressed out about stairs. But just going back to what Carrie was saying, yeah, that does happen.
Right, the strength does help. And I mean, to be fair, there are things that, like, once we kind of start to lose that depth perception, no amount of exercising is going to bring that back, right? It's just going to go. But we can build our confidence through having the strength and doing things that practice it. That's the thing. People think that we lose our balance because we're getting older. And to an extent that, like, we lose depth perception or some hearing or vision decreases, we also have a lot of influence on that through even practicing the balance. Like when we were doing this and you're like, oh, that's not a problem. Well, I had my whole book club do that. And they're a little bit, they're all at least 5 years younger than me. And so everybody was like, okay, fine, stand on one leg, they're there. And then I'm like, okay, now move your hand like this. And they were like, fine. And I'm like, now watch it with your head. And they all went, so we all think we have great balance, but we're not, if we're not practicing it, then it's going away. And that's one of the reasons that the stepping back is an important thing to practice, because as we get older, we're doing everything in front of us. And then if we have, if we're not being able to keep our posture, then it's really in front of us and right here. And your brain forgets about all this other space around you. So stepping back can be a lifesaver. And now you've had your workout for the day, so there you go.
Well, that
Check.
Yvonne, I was just going to say thank you for the reminder on that whole mind and body connection. So with my feet, I could do the X's. Now that was way rude of you to ask me to put hands in there. I got hands every other time, and I don't think they were right. And I've always blamed it on being left-handed, but I'm not sure that's valid. So.
Those coordination things. So that's kind of a funny thing that you notice as an instructor. So people who have been somewhat active before coming to class will still stumble on the coordination things simply just because they haven't been practicing them. Mm-hmm. But it takes 2-3 classes, and all of a sudden, then you really start to see an improvement. People who have come to your class and they haven't been doing anything, either for their brains or their body, then it there is just a much longer learning curve. It still kicks in, but just it takes a bit longer for those things. And to challenge people's brains, we often have them doing pretty crazy stuff. So stand on one leg, bring your hands out, touch your nose, reach your hand up. Alrighty.
Well, if there are no more questions for today, thank you so much, Yvonne. I've put the web address for Willow Tree Studios in the chat. So if anyone's looking for that URL, you can go to willowtreestudios.net and you can get more information on the different classes that Yvonne offers. And we will make this recording available. So if you have friends that you are wanting to share this with, we'll definitely be able to get this information to them.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for playing along. You were good sports about that.
It was fun. I didn't realize how tense I was until you started taking us through that at the beginning. I was like, oh, this is the best part of my day. This is really great.
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great.
You're welcome.
Okay, everybody, take care. Stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Yvonne.
Bye.
Bye,
everybody.
Take care.